In the beginning of the episode we see kids are cornered by a group of cold-blooded killers. Sophia is really worried about Caroline, but Logan reminds her that she can regenerate, so she's going to be fine. Right now, their top priority should be to make it out of this alive, so they both prepare themselves to fight. Logan casts as many buff spells as he can, and Sophia fires a thunder arrow at Giba, but he is easily able to block the attack with his sword and continue pursuing them. However, as he is running, he ends up getting caught in a rock trap that Logan had set up, and Logan is really proud of himself because this is a trick Orhan taught him. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough to stop Giba, so as Logan attempts to strike him, Giba catches his spear and slams him into the ground as he breaks free from the trap. Giba then raises his sword to finish Logan off. Even though they intended to keep the kids as bait, what Logan just did really pissed him off. But just as his sword was about to split Logan's skull in two, Giba's whole body suddenly stops moving. He has no idea what's going on, but it turns out that in that moment of crisis, Sophia managed to unlock her special ability, telekinesis. She uses it to launch Giba into a wall, buying time to heal Logan and get him to safety. Giba is now even more pissed than he was before, and the rest of his teammates are starting to grow impatient because they don't understand what's taking him so long. Giba doesn't want to be considered weak by his team, so he tells them he will finish this right now. On Sophia and Logan's end, they both prepare to combine their magic to fend him off. As for how things are going on Orhan's end, it's pretty bad. Not only has the dragon healed itself, but its attack pattern is also completely different and even more deadly than before. There's no way they'll be able to defeat it in time to save the kids if they fight normally, so Orhan is forced to bust out his secret weapon, even though he hasn't finished perfecting it yet. He casts alteration on his sword, and with a single strike he is able to chop one of the dragon's legs off entirely. But just when it looks like there might still be hope, the dragon begins to regenerate again. It doesn't take long for Orhan to realize that if the dragon is now capable of regenerating indefinitely, then the only way to win would be to kill it in a single strike, but doing something like that is no easy feat. Just then, the dragon swings its tail at the group to attack, so Selma raises a barrier to protect everyone. But under the force of the dragon's incessant pounding, Selma's barrier doesn't hold up, and she gets blown back as it crumbles. Everyone rushes over to her side to check on her, but it looks like the dragon is preparing to launch a fire breath attack, and with Selma out of commission, they would be sitting ducks when that happens. But fortunately, while the dragon's attention is focused on everyone else, Orhan manages to sneak onto a cliff above its head. From there, he makes his move. He alters his sword again, changing its shape into a spear, then leaps down and delivers one powerful blow to the dragon's head, dealing enough damage to take it down for good. Selma is relieved that Orhan managed to defeat the dragon, but she still suffered a ton of damage, so she passes out shortly after. Meanwhile, back on Sophia and Logan's end, they both do their best to tag Team Giba, but let's be real, they never stood a chance. Logan immediately gets his ass handed to him, so he tells Sophia to run while she still can, but it's already too late for that because Giba has set his sights on her. Their job is to kill any promising adventurers before they become strong enough to be a problem, so now that they know that Sophia has a special ability, they think it would be best to kill her after all. Sophia falls to her knees in fear after realizing that Giba really plans to kill her, so all she can do is pray that someone will come save her, and as it turns out, her prayer was answered because before Giba could cut her down, a sword slash knocks him all the way across the room in an instant. Orhan then emerges from the shadows shortly after, and he apologizes for being late, but he came here as fast as he could. After making sure that Sophia is alright, he teleports both Logan and Caroline to his side, and casts a barrier to keep them safe while he deals with the Amunthoth members. He is unbelievably angry right now, but the Amunthoth members all seem pretty smug because they had planned to lure Orhan here all along, and they think it's a stroke of luck that he showed up so quickly. The reason they are so confident is because they are specialists when it comes to killing humans, and he may have taken out Giba, but there's still no way Orhan could win a 3v1 against Giba. Against them, But Orhan isn't fazed in the slightest because he knows this is going to be easy. First he casts gravity spells around the members, and the only one who manages to evade in time is Shaun, but her other teammates weren't as lucky, so they get brought to their knees by the intense gravity, and a second later Orhan zaps the life out of them with a lightning attack. That takes care of all but one, and Shaun is surprised that Orhan was able to take those three out so quickly, but she won't fall as easily as they did. Orhan rushes at her with his sword and strikes at full force, but to his surprise, not only was Shaun able to block his strike despite her tiny frame, she was also able to cast a high-level blizzard spell to counterattack with no casting delay. He jumps back to avoid being frozen, but while he's trying to figure out what's going on, Shaun waves her hand and yet another high-rank spell is formed above him even though she didn't do any casting. Orhan manages to block the lightning strike with a shield, but he's still got no clue what's going on because he has never heard of someone being able to cast such high-level spells without any chance. Shaun is impressed that Orhan was able to handle two of her spells without suffering any damage, and she says she wishes Orhan would join her in a month off, but Orhan turns her down because he wants nothing to do with an organization of murderers. Shaun laughs and mentions that looking at Orhan reminds her a lot of her childhood friend who died when she was little, but Orhan couldn't care less about that and demands to know why she is killing adventurers. Shaun tells him that she doesn't actually want to kill anyone, but the original was defeated and the replica has fallen into enemy hands, so she has no choice, whatever that's supposed to mean. Orhan doesn't understand a word she just said either, and Shaun isn't surprised because she wouldn't expect an outsider to know anything about it. Orhan tells her he doesn't care why she's doing all this, but from what she said, if the situation is really that bad, then she should just give up already and accept whatever fate awaits. As soon as Shaun hears him say that, she flies into a rage and yells that it's overzealous adventurers like him who are bringing the world closer to destruction by clearing the dungeon, and her sudden outburst catches Orhan off guard. Shaun is tired of talking, so she decides to finish this quickly and casts dozens of explosion spells all at once. Orhan has never had to deal with this many powerful spells at once before, so he is quickly overwhelmed, and Shaun seems confident that she blew him up because no one could survive that many explosions without protection, but as the dust settles we see that Orhan actually used his alteration magic to turn his sword into a shield to protect himself, and while Shaun is still staring at him in shock, he turns his weapon into a whip to restrain her. Shaun is unbelievably impressed because the only other person she has seen who is capable of using magic like this is her childhood friend, and as she says this she finally connects the dots and realizes that Orhan is the childhood friend she thought she lost. At the same time, Orhan starts having flashbacks when he sees Shaun's face and he feels like he should remember her, but for some reason he's drawing a complete blank. After finding out that Orhan has been alive all this time, Shaun realizes that she was tricked by the old man and woman, and she's really pissed about it, but Orhan has no idea what she is talking about and he still has no idea who she is for that matter. Orhan asks if they know each other somehow, and seeing that he has no memory of her, Shaun doesn't try to explain herself, but now that she knows who Orhan really is, she no longer wants to fight, so she asks him if he can just let her go for now. Orhan doesn't want to release her, but he's running low on magic, so he is forced to retract his whip, however he still has no clue what's going on. Shaun lovingly tells him that he will understand someday, but as she says this, the other Amon Thoth members begin to regain consciousness, and Selma and the others arrive as well. Orhan is worried because if the fighting starts again, then some of his friends might get hurt, but Shaun tells him that there's no need to worry about that because she plans to withdraw now. After all, she still has to keep that promise she made to him. She says she hopes that the next time they meet each other, they won't be on opposing sides anymore, and a moment later, she uses her magic to teleport herself along with the Amon Thoth members out of there. Orhan is left extremely confused by what happened, but he's just glad he managed to keep everyone safe, although that observer who got his head chopped off is still very much dead. Meanwhile, out in the snowy mountains. In the mountains, Cyan stands on a cliff to vent her excitement at the revelation that Orhan is alive. However, she is also frustrated by the fact that he turned out to be an adventurer because she doesn't want to be his enemy. The fact that he has no memory of her also really hurts, but she knows it's not Orhan's fault. It's the fault of the person who destroyed her home and took her time with Orhan away, and she swears that she's going to make them pay for all the trouble they've caused even if it's the last thing she does. At the same time, we see Oliver out in the field, working hard to improve his skills because he desperately wants to catch up to Orhan in strength. And Philly seems to be fanning the flames of Oliver's jealousy because she came specifically to tell him that Orhan once again defeated the Black Dragon on his own, and the people are starting to call him a hero. But to Oliver's credit, he hasn't even considered using shady tricks to target Orhan out of jealousy, and instead he is dedicated to beating Orhan fairly and squarely with his own effort to prove that he is worthy of being called a hero. While that's going on outside, the Guildmaster is in his office, and he just learned that Orhan defeated the Black Dragon yet again. He seems really annoyed by the fact that Orhan has become strong enough to defeat the dragon even after it leveled up, but he also thinks it's ironic that Orhan is now working for him after what happened all those years ago. So he decides to let things play out and allow Orhan to clear the dungeon for him while he is still oblivious to the truth. The next day, Orhan holds a meeting with the kids, and after the traumatic event they went through yesterday, he hopes they were able to learn a lesson about how weak they really are, just like he is. The kids speak up and tell Orhan that there's no way he can be weak because he saved them all from those murderers, but Orhan tells them that doesn't count as a victory, because if Kian hadn't willingly withdrawn, then every one of them would have died, including Selma and the rest of Unit 1. Orhan may have been able to take out the Amonfoth members when he caught them by surprise, but if they worked together, he never would have been able to win because they were simply too strong, which is exactly why Orhan plans to continue training to become even stronger so he never gets put in a situation like that again. If you liked this video, hit the subscribe button.